So, on this occasion, I called Jerry a couple of weeks ago and said, Jerry, chapter 26, for that matter, 25, 26, 27, they cannot be done in a week. We just can't do that. There's just too much in there. And Jerry, this morning, he opened up, and I was happy to hear him say, Matthew at this point in time slows down. I think, well, great, we've slowed down a little bit too. So even having said that, when I was trying to study 26 here this last few days, it became incredibly difficult for me to decide what to cover. It's just so very, very difficult. And so last week at the last moment, I asked Gerald to teach, and Gerald did a nice job. And this week I've taken it on my own self. And so again, we've got so much here to talk about, so very much. Jerry today basically talked and emphasized more than anything the Garden of Gethsemane and how Jesus dealt with the difficulties there at the garden. And I thought it was really well done. In fact, I just got to tell you, I thought the whole service was beautiful this morning. Did you all not think so? I really appreciated the prayers of each and every person there. Very thoughtful, very heartfelt. Just appreciated it so much. So I hope we can do that more. And something else I got to say too. I'm off on a rant a little bit, but sometimes we sing songs that are new to us. Good to see you, first time in a while. We sing songs that are very new to us. All right, and I find our church being more engaging in new songs. We all try to sing them together. And the songs that Colin had this morning, I just thought they were a beautiful song with beautiful words. I really thought so. I was just really uplifted by being in our worship today. Well, back to the class. There are so many things that we could still talk about today. We could go so many different directions, and I'm happy to go with any direction you all really want to go. We can talk about what's on your mind, but let me just tell you what's on mine first. There are three characters that have very different outcomes. The first character is Jesus. And he covered that really, really well this morning. Okay. The second character is Peter. And the third character is who? Is Judas. Okay. And there is a particular statement that's made by Jesus. He says something about the body. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak. Is that right? What does that mean? Okay? What does that mean? And let me tell you where my mind has gone on this. My mind has gone towards the body is weak, but the spirit. Is that my excuse? Is that excuse for every wrong I ever commit and I'm going to commit? Is that my out? My body, it's weak. Spirit's willing, but my body's weak. God, I'm just sorry for all my infirmities, for all my failures, for all my screw-ups. But you made me. You put me in this body. It's your deal. Okay? What did I do with that? And what did each of these folks do with it? Okay? Now, I will tell you, Jerry messed me up just a little bit this morning because he really stole the bottom line. What was Jesus, the man's, bottom line to the spirit's willing but the body's weak?
Thy will be done.
Huh?
Thy will be done.
Thy will be done. And what was his practice? What was his practice in order that thy will may be done?
Not his will.
Not his will.
Jesus' will. He surrendered.
Okay. What was the practice?
Prayer. Oh,
The practice was the practice of prayer, okay? The practice was intentional. It's intentional. I hope Greg will watch this, my son-in-law will watch this, because Greg is he's an academic kind of guy, and I have told him the way, David, to really come across is very, very erudite and professorial, is to use the word intentionality about 5 times.
That's a good word.
That's kind of the hot word right now, I find, is intentionality with these guys, okay? And if you don't keep up with that, I'm just talking to myself and David. But a lot of that word. But let me tell you what, it is very, very important, okay? And sometimes we lose sight of the fact that we have to live our lives with intentionality. We have to practice. We have to practice to be who we want to be. He used the example of an athlete this morning, okay? Paul uses the example of an athlete. We have to be intentional. We have to plan on failure. And in each of these cases, you can ask yourself, why the failure? Why the failure? In fact, I asked myself about Peter. What was it about Peter? What was it about Peter that caused Peter to fail? There's a lot of things. But what would you say? And I would say this too. I would say some of those very same things that caused Peter to fail are the things that caused Judas to fail. Think about that. Do you disagree with that? The same sort of ideas, some of them that were there, that caused Judas to do what Judas did, they were also in Peter. But I'm questioning, maybe they handled it different ways. Wait,
Yeah, obviously.
what were those things?
Overconfidence,
Overconfidence?
in Peter's part especially.
Yeah, I mean, so we've got Jesus basically sitting there at the table, okay? First of all, he says, somebody here is going to betray me, right? He says, somebody here is going to betray me. And you got all these guys sitting around saying, it ain't me, it ain't me, it ain't me. I'm not sure Judas says it's not me. I don't think he did say it's not me, did he?
He did.
What did Judas say?
He said, could it be me?
Could it be me? And Jesus' answer is,
So you say.
so you say.
So you say.
Interestingly enough, if you read ahead, as Jesus basically goes before officials, and they make their accusations, Jesus rarely says anything particularly about himself, but uses a phrase frequently, which is,
So you say.
so you say, as you say. Jesus lets people more or less speak the truth. That he lets them speak the truth. He points out they're speaking the truth. But here you've got Jesus that makes that comment, and then later on he's looking at his apostles. He says, you all are going to deny me. He doesn't say it just to Peter now. He says it to all of them. You're going to all go other places. And there you got old Peter, old surefire Peter. And Peter, no, not me. In fact, Peter makes a statement of almost desperation. What's he say that he's willing to do? I am willing to die for you. Okay? I'm willing to die for you. That's what Peter said. I'm willing to die for you. So a guy that says, I'm willing to die for you, that within 24 hours is saying, I don't even know the guy. How does this happen? How does it happen? How did it happen to Peter?
And Jesus told him he was going to do it, and he said, no, I'm not.
Okay, all right. Are you making the point because Jesus said it, he did it?
No.
Okay,
no,
just
I'm
making sure.
saying,
Okay.
No.
You know, the other disciples also said they were going to die with him.
Yes, they're all in this.
Peter
Okay.
leads it.
We pick on Peter a lot, but they were all kind of in the same boat, weren't they? Okay.
I think that it makes me wonder if Peter, James, and John in the garden had prayed and been stronger in them to back Jesus.
Okay.
So you were talking about the
So what you are
prayer-
suggesting,
prayer
what you're suggesting,
strengthens us.
what you're suggesting is that they're so confident, but their confidence is not built on any kind of practice. Is that fair to say?
Or surrendering to God's will.
Yeah.
I think that.
Have you all ever had anybody work for you or want to come alongside you and they're so dadgum gung-ho, okay? They're all ready. And then, about halfway into it, they're ready to quit. Y'all ever experienced that? Yeah, I can think of a time or two. I can think of a time or two. I can think about my own self. My gosh, I guess I might have been 12 years old. And Dad built a boat. Okay? I was so proud of my father. Dad out back, in the backyard, actually built a boat. I can remember him bringing a piece of marine plywood in the house, filling the tub up with water, and Mom just kind of shaking her head that he's got plywood in the tub, okay? But he's getting it where he can bend it and make a boat out of it. And Dad got that boat ready. He finished that boat. It was like on a Friday. He finished it, actually sprayed it, had it all nice. It was called a cabin cruiser, Ralph, okay? It might have been 16 feet long. It had about a 60 horsepower Johnson motor behind it. I mean, it was wood as heavy as it could be, it had to be. And he got that thing done, and I can remember being so, Dad, let's go to the lake. Let's go to the lake. And we're talking about probably March. And my brother Kyle said, Dad, let's go to the lake. We got to go to the lake. Dad says, boys, it's freezing out there. It's freezing out there. You don't want to go to the lake right now. You'll be frozen. Dad, we're going. I can remember. I cried. Dad, let's go to the lake. He finally gave in. We get out there in that lake, and I swear I thought I was going to freeze to death, okay? Dad, let's go back, Dad. No, we're going to fish a little while. Golly, come on, all right? So gung-ho about going, okay, but didn't have any kind of background in me, no preparation, no real understanding of what I was getting ready to face. And that is the source, don't you think, so often of people who are overly confident? Now, overly confident, we got to be so very careful about being are we overconfident? Are you overconfident? Yeah, Raph. Go ahead, tell us why you're overconfident.
Oh, no. I don't have any reason to. But let me suggest this to you.
Yeah.
Both Peter and Judas. Okay. Jesus had been with them for 2.5, 3 years by that time. And told them stories, and they had missed the point, time and time again. He'd actually told them things they thought they knew where he was going, and then shifted gears.
Yeah.
Totally different. They misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah.
They also had 1,500, 2,000 years of history that said the Messiah is coming,
Yeah.
and the Messiah is going to, he's going to kick the Romans out.
Yeah.
Okay. So here they are, and up until the point that they all believe he's the Messiah, right?
Yeah.
They're convinced at this point. Peter even said it so many. He said, "You're the Son of God." So here they are, and now wait a minute. This is not right. What do you mean he's arrested? Where's the wrath of God? Where's the 10 Commandments? The God leading us through the wilderness kind of thing. So Peter he's flabbergasted. He said, he's arrested? He's being tried? He didn't get it at all. So he said, yeah, I'm willing to fight with you and die, but this is not what the deal was.
Yeah.
Even at that late day. Meanwhile, Judas is, I'm going to force his hand. I'm going to make him do something. Because he's talking all this peace and stuff. That's not right. I'm going to make him do something. And so they both have that, I think they both have that same mindset. Here's the Messiah. Peter saying he's not doing what he's supposed to do. Judas says, I'm going to make him do what he's supposed to do. And then when the bricks fall in, they say, oh my goodness.
Yeah, Ralph, you're ahead of me just a little bit, but I think you're really onto something there, okay? Something that was relatively new to me in my thinking, but we're going to get there. Yes, Ben?
all know that Peter is very impulsive. But I think to a certain extent, Judas may be impulsive as well, because, you know, I know he planned with the, you know, authorities, but I think he's seeing things go a different way than what he thought.
Yeah.
And he's just not, even though he's seen Jesus' miracles, even though I think he knows that Jesus is the Son of God, and just like Ralph said, it's not going like he thought. I think he just thinks, he's not thinking things through, and he's not really, the impulsiveness I think that Judas may have is that I've got to do something here, this isn't right.
We gotta push this on.
And he's, and I just think they're both impulsive, and so that's,
A good point.
That's
I think
mine.
that's a wonderful point. I'm inclined to agree with you. Look up Zechariah 14. Look up that, kind of scan that, tell me what you think that's all about. Yeah.
I think there's a real key point when, I think it's Luke's account that says, and Satan entered Judas.
Did Satan enter you?
Entered Judas. To me, that's what it all changes.
So you think, did Satan flip a coin? How is it that Satan chose Judas? I got, you know, I got 12 to choose from, okay? I got 12 to choose from. Which one am I gonna go after? And what's the basis of
Well,
that?
he went after Peter too. Jesus said, Satan desires to sift you as wheat. I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't going after them all, but I think.
Well,
Judas-
we got 2 recorded, don't we? All right? I mean, in Mark records, that, something about Satan wanted to try Peter.
Sift him as wheat.
What'd you say?
Sift him as wheat.
Sift him as wheat. Yeah, really wants to shake him up a little bit, see if he can't make something bad come out of it. Yeah, that's like Mark 13, Mark 14, something like that. Yeah.
But Judas had already been tested with greed, and Satan knew that he would give in to that. So Satan
Ooh.
already had a foothold
Oh,
using Judas's greed.
okay, all right. So Satan saw something there in Judas that he thought, I can take this guy. All right? I think that's pretty interesting. And I kind of think that's right, okay? All right, what else is there maybe about Peter or about any of these guys that caused them, you think, ultimately really not to see who Jesus was or what Jesus' mission might be? Here, I think a lot of us, when we listen to God and when we hear what clearly God's will is, okay? I'm talking about our own personal selves. I think that is still affected by other preconceived ideas that we have of what God ought to do for us. Now, we may not come out and just admit it, but so many of our prayers are not flavored by thy will, not mine, okay? It's flavored absolutely by, I got this idea, okay? I got this idea, and this is what I want you to do, God, and this is what my prayer is about that. My prayer is a real encouragement. I need some help, God. I need some help from you with what it is I want to do. Right?
Hopes and
And what's the primary preconception? What's the primary idea that all these Jews have about who Jesus is right now? A military leader. Yeah. Have you got that out of Zechariah? Have you read that?
Yeah.
What's it
Yeah.
say?
I can see where they would be coming from.
What's it say? Help us out there.
It says, "Day is coming for the Lord, when the spoil taken from you will be divided. I will gather all the nations against Jerusalem. City shall be taken, houses plundered, women raped, half the cities shall go into exile. Then the Lord will go out and fight against those nations as when he fights on a day of battle. On that day his feet shall stand on the Mount of Olives that lies before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall be split in two. You shall flee from the earthquake. When the Lord my God will come and all the holy ones with him, on that day there'll be no light, cold, or frost. It'll be a unique day which is known to the Lord. On that day living waters shall flow out of Jerusalem, half from the east, half from the western sea.
Jerusalem is going to be restored. It's going to be the central place in life. the nation of Israel is gonna be restored.
Yep.
Here we are, great things are coming.
And the Lord will be king over all the earth. On
And-
that day, the Lord will be one and his name one.
Yes. Go back to 13, about in the middle, where it says, and the sheep will be scattered, and the shepherd will be killed. They kind of missed that
And
chapter.
on that day, a great panic from the Lord shall fall on them, so that each will seize the hand of another, and the hand of the one will be raised against the hand of the other. Even Judah will fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the surrounding nations shall be collected. And the plague, like this plague, shall fall on the horses, the mules, the camels, the donkeys, and whatever beast may be in those camps. And everyone who survives will have come up against Jerusalem shall go.
Stop. Son.
Yeah,
Here's what I'm telling you.
yeah.
Go back, and you all will read Zechariah 13 and 14, but read 14 by itself first, okay? And then be a Jew at that time under Rome, okay? And you know the day is coming, all right? We just got to have the Messiah to get here and lead the charge, all right?
Verse
And-
13, it's chapter 13, verse 7, where it's
What's-
talking about
yeah.
the shepherd.
What's it say there?
It says, "Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, against the man who stands next to me, declares the Lord of hosts. Strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. I will turn my hand against the little ones."
Yeah. See, again, I think they missed 13. They missed 13 totally. They don't recognize that part of it, but they recognize 14. And so, you know, I don't care how much faith Peter has, says he has, all the apostles say they have. I think underlying all that are years of belief that this is what Jesus is. So I would suggest that he's overconfident. Okay, he is overconfident. He's a bit presumptuous for sure, all right? But he's also got underlying all this, he's got this belief that he just can't put out of his mind that somehow or another, he and Judas both think something bigger is coming for Jerusalem, all right? I believe that. So a failure to really know who Jesus is, okay? How about Peter? Do you think Peter overestimates himself? Do you think Peter may not know so much about his own self as he thought? Yeah. And I'll tell you what, these are all lessons for our own selves as we look at this, okay? Some of us maybe have too much confidence because we don't know who we are. Because sometimes we've never stood under fire either. And I'll tell you something. I don't think you know yourself until you've stood under fire. I don't think you begin to know sometimes who you are until you've had cancer and you've looked at death in the eye. You know something really bad could come at you. You know something really bad can happen. And all of a sudden you start discovering some things about yourself. And you start figuring some things out that you maybe thought before, maybe even would say you believed before, but now you've lived it. And it's different. It's just totally different. Yeah?
Well, I think for all of them, maybe, it's just the fear of the unknown. So maybe they're just going back to what they do know about the scriptures and how they don't understand any of it. So they're just going back to what, you know, this earthly king thing. Because everybody has this fear of the unknown and the newness.
And when you have a fear of the unknown and newness, what we try to retreat to is what we know and
Yes.
what we're confident in, and what oftentimes is that.
Yeah,
It's us, right?
Yeah.
It's what I've thought before, it's where I've always been, it's where I'm comfortable,
yeah,
and that gives us a sense of peace, okay?
yeah.
But we know that doesn't get it done.
Yeah.
It doesn't get it done.
They also had been taught that the Messiah was going to become their earthly ruler from the time
From the
that
beginning.
they could toddle.
From Zechariah.
They had been taught this, so they didn't know anything else, and their processing of
Yeah.
all the information had to have been filtered through that paradigm of what they had been taught by the priests and by the teachers.
So Mark, we've been watching a series at yours and Melissa's house, off and on for the last few years, okay? That's called The Chosen, all right? And The Chosen, was the first place where I was able to garner this suspicion, this idea, that maybe Judas wasn't the bad guy in the way I thought him to be a bad guy that I thought he was. Maybe Judas is a guy who simply knows himself how this ought to go, and maybe he's missed the point about Jesus really being God, and maybe Jesus is just this man-made Messiah that's here to follow up on Zechariah and lead them all into some great kingdom, right? A different kingdom than what they imagined. And I have thought that has been a tremendous contribution of that series to my thoughts on that. But you know, and so we talk about Judas, all right? And for a minute, I want to give Judas a bit of a break. It wasn't over the 30 pieces of silver, maybe, okay? Maybe it was. You know, maybe he's got that greed in him that is kind of the open wound for the infection to get in, okay? But maybe the bigger deal is what he sees Jesus as needing to be, all right? And he's going to bring that along. Well, how long do you think it takes for Judas to realize, boy, have I really messed up? Huh? You know, the scriptures, and something else that's interesting, because I read all 4 Gospels last night, not the whole Gospels, the last from Gethsemane on, all right? Every single Gospel brings out this bit about Peter and his denials. Every single Gospel mentions it. You know, when you start looking at stories in the Bible and you see a story where it's repeated in all 4 Gospels, that ought to tell us something, right? Maybe that ought to tell us something. But we know from our gospel reading, and quite honestly right now, I can't recall whether it's Matthew I read it or where I read it. But it seems to me that shortly after Judas sees Jesus as condemned to be crucified, Judas has a breakdown. He has an absolute breakdown. It can't be anything short of an absolute breakdown. I can't imagine anything short of that that would cause a guy to go out and kill himself. And Jesus does that. Now, Judah, excuse me, so correct that real quick. So, what possesses a person to go out and kill himself in that situation? Let me ask you this. Peter, you think Judas's sin was greater than Peter's sin? Ask you that. Got a no? Do you think the consequence might have been any greater? Apparent consequence. Yeah, I'm thinking the consequence was seen to be greater. I mean, sin is sin, I got it. But I'm thinking you go out and get a guy killed, that might be bigger than saying he's not who he says he is, all right? That's I'm just thinking that. But Peter honestly, I think, comes to grips with the idea that what I have done has caused this innocent man to be killed. At that point in time, does Peter recognize or have any greater insight into who the Messiah is? You think? I don't really think so either. I don't know that I think Peter has figured out this Messiah thing or not. Okay? What he has figured out is he's causing a good, innocent man to be crucified. And he knows how bad a crucifixion is.
Well, and you're saying Peter, but all the disciples deserted him.
I know, I was trying to say Judas. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The-
Understand what I mean, not necessarily what I say.
Sorry, honey,
Thank
I
you.
do that all the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Read your mind.
I, 20 years ago, did not make that mistake as often. Okay, all right? Anyway, Judas, his way of handling this is he goes out and kills himself. All right.
Was it after though, did he kill himself after Jesus was arrested or after Jesus was condemned to die?
Condemned to die is what scripture says.
Okay. I
I'll go
hadn't
with
read
that answer.
part.
right, so Peter denies, okay? And we've got this story again, 4 times. He denies him 3 different times, all right? Well, that's pretty interesting because, you know, Jesus has just told him this is what you're going to do. So how does Peter handle it?
He repents.
How does Peter handle it?
He repents.
He goes out in the dark weeks.
He what?
Weeps.
He weeps bitterly. Yeah. I mean, he has a breakdown too. But Peter stopped short of killing himself, right? What was it about Peter, Mark, that allowed him to stop short of killing himself?
I don't know. I think Peter saw a difference in Jesus than what Judas saw in Jesus.
What?
And I think Peter had a level of penitence about him that caused his deep, deep remorse for denying Jesus. And I wonder, I've often wondered, because that part is repeated in all 4 Gospels, I've often wondered, is that so important by the Spirit that it, not the message that Peter failed, but the strong message of Jesus' forgiveness?
In 1 Peter, the very first chapter, okay, Peter has some very, very interesting things to say. Let's go back, go read that with me just for a moment, because I've forgotten what it says already. 1 Peter, that's right before 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. In fact, it's for 2nd Peter, if y'all have trouble finding.
Where's second Peter?
What chapter?
Oh, well, let's just read this just for a minute. Peter, an apostle of Jesus, to those who reside as aliens scattered throughout Asia, who are chosen according to the foreknowledge of God, the Father, by the sanctifying work of the Spirit, that you may obey Jesus Christ, be sprinkled with his blood, may grace and peace be yours in fullest measure. Blessed is the God, Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his great mercy has caused us to be born again, to be a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to obtain an inheritance which is imperishable, undefiled, and will not fade away, reserved in heaven for you, who are protected by the power of God through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed at this last time. In this you greatly rejoice, even though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been distressed by various trials, that the proof of your faith, being more precious than gold, which is perishable, even though tested by fire, may be found to result in praise and glory and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. And though you've not seen him, you love him. And though you do not see him now, but believe in him, you greatly rejoice with joy, inexpressible and full of glory, obtained as the outcome of your faith, the salvation of your souls. That is one long sentence. Even though now for a little while, if necessary, you have been distressed by various trials. You think Peter has some insight into that? For a little while being distressed by various trials. You think Peter, he looks back at his own situation. You think Peter ever looked back? You think anybody, I'm talking about Peter's later life, they walked up to Peter and said, Peter, I just got to know, what was it that changed in you? What was it that changed in you that Jesus could look right at you and say, Peter, you're going to do this. And you did. And here you are now. And you can preach this to me. You can write it in your writing. You can say, though you're distressed for a while by trials, yet you're going to stick with him. How can you say that? You wonder? Yeah, Rick.
I think Pentecost is the key to all of the apostles and disciples becoming, with the power of the Holy Spirit as it descended upon them.
Come on now.
Knowledge was imparted.
Yeah. Okay. So, what between the time Peter wrote this in 1 Peter and Peter sitting there crying horribly that what he's done, okay? What has transpired between those two things?
There's a resurrection.
There's a resurrection.
Yes.
There's a resurrection. And so, and two of the Gospels at least make it very clear who was one of the first witnesses of Jesus' resurrection. It's Peter. It's Peter. We talk about the women going, okay? But one of the first people they speak to is Peter. And Peter and John go flying back, okay? Who gets there first? Just let you question.
Peter.
John gets there first, okay? John outran Peter, which is not what I would have expected based on the physiques of those guys in The Chosen, okay? I think Peter could outrun anybody. John got that back there first, okay? All right?
But they always make fun of Peter's running in The Chosen.
I missed out on that.
Yeah, they always make fun of Peter, because when he runs, his legs are
He's
flying
just
out.
flying two different directions.
Yeah.
Probably chewing gum. Yeah.
And think
Sorry.
about Peter and Judas
Yeah?
and their reactions
Yes.
to what each of them did. I wonder if Peter's closer relationship with Jesus, because think about it, Jesus, when he calls out a small group to do something with him, Peter's always in that group.
Yeah.
Peter gets talked to, and Peter gets an intimacy with Jesus that Judas did not have. And that,
Okay.
I think, changes perspective.
I think that's an interesting point. I've thought about that. So Jesus comes along and he's got his three pets in the group. And those three pets are a lot tighter, know a whole lot more because Jesus gave them more attention. So let's give Judas a pass.
I didn't say give him a pass. I said it changes his perspective.
Yeah, I'm confident of that. Let's get back to the couple things that happened between this and when Peter's moaning, groaning, crying, feels pretty bad about himself. What's happened, Mark?
One thing that led up to that, you asked a little bit ago about the difference between Peter and Judas. Peter's denial was foretold to him by Jesus, okay? Jesus, in Luke, Jesus said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has demanded to have you that he might sift you like wheat.
Yes.
But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned, turned again, strengthen your brothers.
Yes.
So Peter has a little bit of insight in there that Jesus has said, okay, I'm going to come out of this. It may hurt, it may be bad and painful, but I'm going to come out of this.
Jesus has presented him a mission on the front end.
He has.
He knows he's got it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So I just want to tie this up, the things that happened between, I'll give a couple things. One is purely experiential. They've experienced something in the resurrection that they've never seen before, okay?
Came through the door.
And they believe it, all right? Belief is there. Old Thomas walks in and he's still, guys, I've heard about this, but this ain't right. And Jesus lays one on Thomas. Yeah, hey, how about you feel right here? Okay, yeah, there's that experience, all right? And then Pentecost. So Jerry's sermon this morning, which I really appreciated, and Jerry talked about something this morning, but he did not use the language that I wish he had used. He talked about praying and praying for God to be with us, etc., etc. He used that kind of phrase a bunch. Y'all with me? The gift of the Holy Spirit is God with us, okay? There's a whole lot of things in prayer that can change us and make us what we have not been before, okay? All right? But we need to be so very careful, I think, in talking about the change in us such that we are able to do things. That we understand that change in us is dependent on the Spirit of God that lives within us. Okay? And I think that Spirit of God is a real enabler. It's something that is very real. That's within Peter at that time. That's within all those men. That it enables them to withstand and deal with the torment that they're going to deal with. It enables them to understand. It enables Peter in particular, because he's a lot of attention paid to him in the Gospels. Enables Peter himself to understand the ordeal that is before me. The history of him being crucified upside down. Okay? it's that sort of thing that allows us to believe, allows me to believe that Peter was able to endure that. He had the Spirit within him. Yes, baby.
Also, I think he still struggles even when Jesus is resurrected, and he doesn't know it yet, by the angels telling the lunatic, when you go tell the disciples, and Max Buchanan draws a real big focus on this, and it also says, go tell his disciples and Peter.
Yes, yes.
You know, so that's a very interesting attention.
There's a lot, yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying.
Would Peter have even gone unless the disciples, unless the women had not said, I'm telling them, but they also said, make sure you tell Peter to show up too.
Yeah. So as I read it, kind of what's in my mind is Peter gets told by the women, Peter goes to the grave, and then Peter goes home. He's gone home. And it seems like the other disciples they're kind of hidden out kind of together somewhere, okay? That's kind of the sense I got. It's kind of like Peter's out on his own a little bit here.
And maybe Peter don't feel comfortable coming back to see Jesus.
I would say there is some incredible embarrassment that Peter's got to feel. You know, Peter's been, you know, I'm the leader of this bunch. You know, I'm the glue that holds this bunch together. Okay, and he is the weenie that leaves Jesus, and it's very, very open that he did. So this so-called leader, this weenie leader, is he going to walk in with this group of disciples and can he even be himself? I'm just thinking he's incredibly embarrassed by this. He's remorseful, but I think he's still incredibly embarrassed. Yeah.
So Peter gets told, you're going to, you know, Jesus says he's going to deny him, but when you get restored, strengthen your brothers. Judas gets told, it's going to be terrible for the one who betrays me. That man would be better off if he had never been born.
Yeah. That's
gotta
encouraging.
mess with you.
What now?
That's gotta mess with you.
Yeah. My question was, my comment, my thought, and again, I'm just sharing my brain. Jesus, why would you say that to him? What a downer. Couldn't you encourage him just a little bit? I think Jesus recognized he's way down that path. I just got to believe that.
Well, he said
Does
the
that-
prophecy had.
Yeah, Mark, what now?
Does that imply what Judas did was unpardonable?
If Judas
Next
had
question.
died,
I mean, how do you answer that, Mark?
I don't know. You
You know,
know,
I
Was it more about his state of condition than it was about God's will at this time?
say what now, Randy?
So was it more about his condition spiritually and in every other way
Yeah.
than it is about God's will in this?
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
it seems that Judas may have taken it as unpardonable. Whether it was or not, that seems to be the way he interpreted it.
Well, I'm thinking if we start looking at sins and start figuring out what's a bad one and what's a worse one, et cetera, I'm thinking Judas is right up here on top, okay? So, you know, but at the same time, I don't have an answer, Mark. Margaret, you had a point to make?
I was just saying, Jesus talked about the prophecies had to be fulfilled twice, right here in Matthew, when he was confronted of the soldiers. And I was just thinking, well, all this is done to fulfill prophecy. So it doesn't really go back to what you were
Well, I would just be very
discussing
careful how you read that. I would not read that as cause and effect as much as this is the truth and this is the truth, okay? You know, I don't think prophecies are necessarily self-fulfilling in that they cause something to happen. I think the prophecy is this is what is going to happen, not this is the cause of what's going to happen. So just be careful with that. All right, so I want to stop with the story right here. And I want to spend just a few minutes talking about ourselves. I want to talk about ourselves, and I want to talk about our own failures and how we handle our own failures, right? And, you know, there's a couple of us in here that are older, and we're old enough to have seen a whole bunch of failures. All right. Old enough, we've seen a bunch of failures. And, you know, when I look back, I question, what is it that I've done with my failures? What have I done with my failures? Maybe even more than that, why did I have that failure? And what am I doing right now? What am I doing right now to prevent future failures? You know, you with me? I mean, I think anybody here that's honest with themselves, you've had some real tremendous screw ups. Well, you two haven't, okay? But I got news for you. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
How true.
It's, that's the bad news. The good news is the rest of the story, okay? Rest of the story. We all, what was the song Frank Sinatra sang? Elvis sang it too. It's a beautiful song, but it's one of the worst songs, one of the worst lyrics. It is so absolutely, totally wrong. I did it my way. Yeah. Regrets, I've had a few, but then a few, too few to mention. Yeah. I did it my way. I did it the wrong way. I remain stupid. I'm trying to live without God. I don't depend on prayer. I've done nothing intentional. Right? Am I right? Yeah.
Well, Jerry mentioned in his sermon that those three were given a front row seat to see Jesus in the garden, and they fell asleep.
Yeah.
And at that moment, it was like, oh Lord, wake me up. How much have I fallen asleep when I should have been watching Him and praying intentionally? How much do we sleep through?
Yeah. Just don't understand what the moment is. We just don't understand the importance of the moment. And so we go to sleep. We sit at the wheel. We're not being active in our pursuit of being who we've been called to be. We're not taking it serious. I don't know, Margaret may not, she's with me all the time when we do this. We watch too much TV.
Well, what are you watching? We quit watching TV.
Oh, we'll give you a whole list of.
Yeah, bring it.
Well,
The Chosen.
Hey, I will tell you, Little House on the Prairie, the new one.
Little House on the Prairie is pretty good, okay? It's pretty good. The new season is pretty good, all right? And there's some good stories there. But you know, some of this other stuff, it just consumes time. It just consumes time. I mean, I tell you what, it's so easy to get caught up in our lives as busy as they are during the day. You know, you work like a maniac, okay? Hey, I used to come home after working like a maniac, and Margaret, you know, why don't you go do something with the kids? I'd go. You know, I mean, I've just worked all day. I'd really like to do nothing right now. I'd really like to sit in my chair and watch some senseless TV show and just pass time and do absolutely nothing, okay? It's so easy. It's so easy. See, hear that right there? What's she done all day? I've been working. Soap operas? No, we don't do that in our house. Okay? Not during the day. Not during the day. Isn't that what all these new TV shows are? It's just one big soap opera? Yeah. I tell you folks, we do need to think and be more intentional about our prayer life. I am not good. I'm really good at praying before meals, okay? It's just a time to sit down, and for almost every meal, we will say a prayer. And I feel like our prayer is a meaningful prayer. It's a thoughtful prayer. I think we do a good job right there. In the morning, a lot of times, not all the time, but driving into work, I'll pray to God while I'm driving, okay? Now, that's tough, because you can't be too into the Spirit or you run over somebody. But, yeah, but you know, it's not a bad time to think and just talk to God like that. At nighttime, I used to pray every single night before I went to bed. And I don't do that. I do that irregularly now. I don't know, I'm just tired, but I need to work on that. I bet some of you all do too. And Scripture, reading Scripture, confession. One of the reasons that I am drawn to teach class is because it draws me to Scripture, because I have to do it. It's rigorous. If you're going to teach a class well, you've got to study, okay? You've got to be in the Scripture, you've got to study it. So it is a good way to enforce in me doing that, okay? But I'll tell you something. Sometime, if I let Gerald do it, I don't study very hard. And you know, you got to be very careful, because if you know you come on Sunday morning, you go listen to old Stevie Boy, and he's prepared. You really don't have to do anything. You're gonna pick it up while you're here. Maybe y'all don't need to read it before y'all get here. Maybe y'all need to just sit down and watch a rerun of Dallas. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Okay? I mean, but look, we need to think hard about doing our spiritual exercises every day of our life. We need to think about that. Because what that does, through the Spirit's power that dwells in us, is it prepares us for the tough times that are coming. He'll walk.
Thought I had here, there seems to be a real warning for us in these stories here that, you know, any of us, given the right circumstance, we may have, like I've been a Christian for 50 years. I tend to get in that frame where I'll never forsake him, just like Peter. But given the right circumstances, any of us can fall. And it happens all the time when you look out in the religious world. How many people we thought were solid as a rock are no longer with us. So we have to be humble as well.
The words, take heed lest you fall,
Right.
are real. Look, I've talked too long already, class. Everybody's out there wondering what we're doing. Enjoyed hearing your comments today. Enjoyed y'all being with us. All of you that are visiting with us, thank you for being here. Hope you have a great week. Hope to see you next week. Next week, chapter 27. Upward and onward.